He wrote safe while the channel shifted under his feet. Dawn in Dunwich came in sideways, thin light, cold, and already damp with the promise of trouble. Elias Rook walked the wharf before the town woke. He did it every day. Same boots, same boards, same slow, deliberate pace that said a man was thinking with his weight, not just his head. The timber gave under him, not much, enough. He paused, looked out. The water was wrong, not in a way a stranger would catch. No grand wave, no roaring sign. It was a colour thing, a thickness. The chop hit the old black pilings and came back duller than it should, as if the sea had something lodged in its throat. Moved again, he muttered. A gull cut low, then higher, then thought better of it. That told him more than any chart. The channel had shifted. Again, he walked it in his mind, where a keel might scrape, where a man would swear he had room, right until he did not. He tasted salt, mud, something metallic. He knew this harbour the way a butcher knew bone, and that morning it would have taken a ship's belly and not apologized. He stood there a moment longer than he should have. Then he turned. Inside, the office smelled of ink, damp paper, and old rope. The ledger waited where it always waited. The candle stuttered like it had doubts about the day. Elias sat, flexed his fingers. They were thick, rope-burnt things. Practical hands, honest hands, most days. He dipped the quill. The words came easily. That was part of the trouble. Channel sound. Entry passable on present tide. No unusual hazard. He let the ink settle. Blew on it, gently. There. Clean, certain, useful, a lie with straight edges. Dunwich answered quickly to good news. By midday the quay had a pulse again, not a strong one, but a pulse. Nets were lifted, voices rose, someone laughed too loud, like they were testing whether they were allowed. A small cog nosed in by afternoon, cautious but hopeful. It made it through, barely. The pilot cursed under his breath, but the hull held, and that was enough for a town like that. Bread was bought. Fish was salted. An innkeeper clapped Elias on the shoulder hard enough to mean it. Steady hand, Master Rook. Town needed that. A widow caught him by the sleeve. Thin fingers. Work rough. My boy's got unloading work this week, she said. God keep you for it. He nodded. Said little. He was good at that. But he felt it. The shift. The lie had weight now. Warm weight. Bread weight. Human weight. It sat well at first. The next report was easier, and the one after that easier still. Each morning the same walk, the same wrong water, the same careful practiced lie. Safe. Passable. Sound. Words that kept men fed. Words that brought ships. Words that made the harbour look like what it used to be instead of what it was becoming. Something narrowing, something waiting. Mara Fenn noticed. Not at once, not dramatically. She was not that sort. She copied the notices. That was her work. Clean hand, clear eye. Numbers and words lined up neat enough to trust. She had also grown up watching pilots argue over tide like it was scripture. So when the report said steady and the fishermen came in muttering about a channel with teeth, she tilted her head. Once, twice, then she started to keep her own tally. Ink against memory, fact against comfort. It did not match. She found him late when the harbour had gone quiet and the wind had come in from the east with that thin, needling cold that found gaps in coats. You were writing it fairer than it was, she said without preamble. Elias did not look up at first. Mind your copying, Mara. I did, that was the trouble. He set the quill down, slow. What was it you thought you knew? I thought, she said, that the channel was shifting quicker than you were telling it. I thought you knew where it had gone shallow, and I thought you were not saying it. A pause. Outside, something knocked against a piling, hollow, repetitive. Elias leaned back in his chair, studied her. You wanted me to empty the harbour? He asked. That it? I wanted you to tell the truth. And watch the town starve, tidy and honest? Her jaw tightened. Better that than... Than what? He cut in. A few rough entries, a scraped hull. You thought men hadn't risked worse for a coin? This was not risk, she said, quieter now. This was shaping it. He smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Every harbour master shaped it, he said, else there'd have been no harbours left. That was not what you were doing. No? He leaned forward. I was keeping Dunwich breathing. That was what I was doing. She held his gaze. For how long? He did not answer that, because he did not know, and because the answer would not have helped either of them. The scrape came a week later. A small vessel, light cargo, wrong tide. It limped in with a torn belly and a captain who swore the channel had betrayed him. Elias stood on the quay, hands behind his back, listening. It was there, the man insisted. Room enough, then nothing, like the ground rose up to meet me. Elias nodded, calm, reasonable. Shifted tide, he said. You misread it. I've sailed worse waters than this. And yet, Elias said gently, there we were. There was a murmur, a shrug. The cargo was half lost, but the crew lived. It could have been worse. It was always nearly worse. That was how the lie survived. He wrote another report that night, clearer, firmer, safer than before. Not because he believed it, because now he had to. The town began to speak in two voices. Above board, confidence, trade, relief that tasted almost like hope. Below it, muttering, quiet arguments over ale. Fishermen who knew the water said less and less because saying it did nothing. Mara pressed him again. You could still turn it, she said. One notice, one honest line. And watch them all scatter, he replied. Merchants, boats, coin, gone in a week. Better a week of truth than... Than what? He snapped. Say it. She did. Than waiting for the day it killed someone. He looked at her for a long moment. Then, softer now. Panic emptied towns faster than storms, Mara. That didn't make this right. No, he said. It made it necessary. There it was, not a lie anymore. A position, a man standing on it. Word came of a larger vessel. Grain, timber, enough to matter. Enough to carry Dunwich a month, maybe more, if luck held and no one looked too closely at anything. It would come in on a tightening window, ahead of weather. Elias knew the tide it would meet, knew the line it would have to take, knew the exact place the keel would kiss trouble if it strayed a yard wrong. He stood with the signal in his hand. The bell rope hung beside him, thick and rough, honest. It only did one thing, and it did it plainly. He could have rung it, warned them off, told the truth in iron and sound. He did not. He lifted the flag instead, welcoming signal, clear entry, come in. The storm did not arrive all at once. It crept, wind first, then a chop that forgot its manners, then a grey wall that ate distance until the ship was there and not there, a shape in the throat of the harbour. Men gathered, quiet, watching. Elias was already moving, shouting lines, placing men. His competence was real, sharp, immediate. Hold her starboard, not there, there, keep her... The hull struck. A sound like a door closing on the wrong thing. Then again, louder. The mast tilted, wrong angle, too fast. Cut her free, someone shouted. Too late. The channel took her the way a hand took a cup, firm, unargued. Timber split, cargo broke loose, a man was on the deck, then not. The bell rang then, of course it did. Someone else had taken the rope. Clanging, useless. Elias was in the water before he remembered deciding to be. Cold hit him like a fist. He moved, grabbed rope, hauled, commanded, saved 2, maybe 3. Not enough, never enough, because the place it broke. He had known that place. He had written around that place. The wreck lay crooked by evening, broken mast, cargo strewn like a confession. The bodies that could be found were found, the ones that could not. The sea kept what it was given. It always had. The truth did not need much help then. Mara brought the copies, old notices, tide marks, his own drafts where the ink showed hesitation before certainty. Others brought memory, grumbles, scrapes, near misses that suddenly lined up like teeth. The pattern stood up on its own legs. Elias did not run. Where would he have gone? That was his harbour. That was his work. They gathered in the same place they had always gathered when something had to be said aloud and owned. Faces he knew, hands he had shaken, people who had eaten because of him, people who had lost because of him. It was not a clean division. That was the worst of it. Murderer, someone said. Saved us, said another, quieter. Saved us for what? Came back. The argument wanted to start. It did not quite manage it. Grief sat too heavy. They looked to him. He stood with his hands empty, no ledger, no quill, nothing to hold. I knew, he said. No speech, no dressing, just that. I knew where it was going shallow. I knew it week by week. I thought—" He swallowed. The words came slower then, less certain. "I thought one more week would carry us, then another, that it would ease, that we would find a way to hold it." He looked out toward the harbour. "I did not mean for men to die." A pause. "I meant for Dunwich to live." There was a bitter sound from the crowd. Not quite a laugh. "And it did," someone said. "Didn't it? While you wrote it so." Elias nodded. "Yes." The word landed like a stone. "I gave you time," he said. "That was all I gave you." "And what did it cost?" Mara asked. He looked at her, at the town, at the harbour. "Everything it always costs," he said. They took his office. Of course they did. Another man sat where he had sat, wrote what was seen, not what was needed. The next notice was short. "Channel hazardous, entry at risk. Plain, late, true." Ships turned away. The market thinned. Bread grew tighter again. Dunwich did not die, not that week, not the next. It lingered. Smaller, quieter, a place that remembered. Elias still walked the harbour at dawn. No one stopped him then, no one thanked him either. He stood where he had once judged the channel. The posts were marked clear now, honest warnings, stark against the grey water. The sea moved as it always had, indifferent, patient. He watched it, read it, knew it, better than anyone left. That had never been the problem. The problem was this: he had loved the place enough to lie for it, and then he had loved the lie enough to keep it.